Mr. Speaker, if the sponsor would yield to a few questions for me, please.
Assemblywoman Pinto, would you yield for some questions?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
As the budget chair, why are you supporting this large of a one-shot revenue boost that will likely result in a fiscal cliff for us again in 2022 and then decades beyond that?
Assemblyman, this is simply an option as we move through this fiscal crisis and we start to see a large decline in revenues. This is just simply an option.
Do you have plans as the budget chair to manage the future revenue shortfalls combined with the larger debt and pension payments that are going to happen if we do borrow this money?
This is a better subject to be debated during the budget. This is just a bill that's going to authorize borrowing. That's all.
Don't you think it might be a more prudent approach to have a plan that we're working towards before passing a law of this magnitude without actually having a plan to address the shortfalls down the road?
I think this is part of Plan A, B, C, or D. I think that this is something that's going to allow the governor and this body an option to be able to use it if we need to.
Would it not potentially be more prudent to develop a plan, determine exactly how much money is needed, and at that point then address this issue? What is your plan, Madam Chairwoman, to repay this debt?
So as stated before, the bill is just a authorization in order to issue bonds. That conversation comes into play once again as part of the budget process, as repayments, as what interest is going to look like. That's not for at this time, nor is that in this bill.
How likely, Madam Chairwoman, is it that we will have to increase taxes to pay back this debt?
Assemblyman, under the former administration, we borrowed over $14 billion. We figured out how to pay that. We're still paying that. And this bill is just giving authorization, as I stated before, to have this repayment. So at this point in time, these are all questions that are better served for when the budget bill would be prepared.
Yeah, as a small business owner, when I go for a loan, I have to justify how I can pay it back. I'm just looking for the state to do the same thing before we try and do that. If we do pass this bill, we do allow the governor to borrow $9.9 billion. And the governor does borrow $9.9 billion based on our authorization. Are we capable of paying that back without raising taxes?
I would be extremely powerful if I was the sole person that gave the governor the ability to borrow $9.9 billion. We all know that there's going to be a process in place, and we all know that this is the bill that will allow an authorization, and that's all it does.
If this bill is passed today, and the governor and the body appointed does in fact spend the $9.9 billion, is it or is it not possible to pay that back without raising taxes?
Assemblyman, that's a theoretical question.
The series of questions I just asked were designed by me to highlight the fact that we have no plan to pay this back. If we do, in fact, authorize the state to borrow this money, and it does, in fact, pass constitutional muster, which my colleagues have already pointed out very likely will not happen, there has been no forethought, no plan, at least not articulated in this chamber today, that will position us to pay this money back. And that is very worrisome, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir.